Is Harbaugh going to be ready to go for the season next year? Back and forth. Here we
The
go.
NFL season or the college season?
Well, that's a good point because
you mean as the Vegas Raiders head coach or the coach of the Michigan Wolverines? Because those are two different answers for me.
I think I've gone back and forth on this. Where he's out. And this was based on the 3-game suspension to begin the year that Michigan self-imposed based on the recruiting violations. And here comes Feldman this past weekend saying that, there could be a lengthy suspension for him whenever we get to the off season. And I know that I rolled my eyes at that too, for recruiting violations during the COVID period that the NCAA was investigating. And that resulted in the Michigan suspension, hoping to lighten the potential penalty. And then you also add in the sign stealing investigation that's going on, and he could be suspended, face a lengthy suspension for the 2024 season. If he gets any indication that he's going to face that, Chad, he's coaching in the National Football League. He's not the head coach at Michigan. And Feldman's quote in the report on Saturday, it would not be surprising if Jim Harbaugh, if he's still the coach at Michigan, would be suspended for the bulk of the 2024 season, I'm told.
So I've been, pretty defiant about something needs to happen to Michigan in all this. Like, they've done wrong. They need to be disciplined. I'm totally fine with a 3-game suspension. I didn't think they were wrong by that, the way Michigan fans would have you believe.
Not yet.
No.
Maybe this weekend.
But no, I will. This is a little bit of a turn for me. But I will start to say that while Michigan needs to be punished, and punished more than this 3-game suspension, it does get a little weird when everyone continues to claim that Jim Harbaugh knew nothing about it. I don't believe that. But if they can't prove that, and they're adamant that he didn't, it seems like overkill to continue to suspend Jim Harbaugh, especially given the fact that Michigan, by the way, is still undefeated without Jim Harbaugh on the sideline when these suspensions are happening.
Yeah.
So at some point, let's take it away from Jim Harbaugh and affect Michigan with scholarship reductions, fines, something else. Vacated games, can't win the Big Ten championship for 1 year next year, something. Postseason ban, whatever. Like this whole Jim Harbaugh thing, if you keep doubling down on that, I think gets a little redundant. And if you're that serious about what they've done against the rules, find another way to discipline them at some point, right?
Well, I would just say, if you're going to discipline Harbaugh, this is the year to do it. That's why we were so on the soapbox about it. And it took the Big Ten stepping in order for it to happen. And quite frankly,
and they were the only ones that could at the time. Like the NCAA wasn't going to act that fast.
Well, they couldn't. But they also knew that there was an appeals process where you have to give the school and the program a certain amount of time to present the appeal. And by that period of time, college football playoff is come and gone, potentially. The only way to do it is if you can't appeal, and you could not appeal this, you could take it to a court system. But we know Michigan chose not to do that last week. This is an indication.
Does it feel like overkill on Harbaugh, though?
Well,
a little bit. Like,
but
does someone else face any punishment in this in Michigan?
To me, this is going back, though, Chad, to the previous investigation.
Yeah, which could be part of the suspension.
Yes. And he was defiant that he wasn't going. He was negotiating his own deal at the time. He was leaking out there. It was over a hamburger.
Yeah.
Which
did make them very angry.
Well, they pulled the offer. They said, we're not accepting anything like this. We'll come back. We'll come back to you. We're not accepting what was proposed in our talks. And then Michigan, in their response to this, self-imposed the 3-game suspension, not the 4 that was being reported, and quite frankly, mocked by Harbaugh at Big Ten Media Days, where he's standing at the podium talking about the hamburger, and he was not doing that. He was defiant in the fact that he didn't feel like there was anything wrong, and he was going to be the coach on the field. And then it was leaked about the hamburger. That was the push, right? It was the spread through the concessions or whatever it was. Yeah, I think it's more or less he's pissed off the NCAA. And we know what happens when they focus on you. They focus on the program, but they can focus on an individual pretty easily.
I think we're going to know the answer from Michigan fans on this, and I'll throw it open to our YouTube chat as well, where you can watch us with this question. At what point is Jim Harbaugh not worth it? if you're Michigan. Again, I get it. You've won a lot of games. Now, you've won a lot of games in the midst of a big-time cheating scandal in terms of how you got signs of other teams. I know that both are true. Bobby Carpenter, I thought, said it well. They gained a competitive advantage, and they're one of the best teams in America. And they're winning a lot of games because they're very, very good. Both true. But at what point are you just thinking, we haven't lost without him on the sideline? It's Michigan. There are plenty of great coaches you could go hire that would love to coach that program. Is the headache truly worth it? There were San Francisco 49ers, great example. Eventually, the headache wasn't worth it with Jim Harbaugh. And how quickly we forget, Michigan fans, that it wasn't too long ago that Jim Harbaugh was in Minnesota interviewing for the Vikings gig on National Signing Day or the night before National Signing Day and trying to leave your program. I mean, loyalty is a two-way street here.
He had Rob Walton fly to Ann Arbor. The owner of the Denver Broncos flew to Ann Arbor to try to get him to change his mind and take the Denver Broncos job.
I think we just get so wrapped up in the here and now, and all Michigan fans can see, and I feel like it should be a pretty smart football fan base, but all they can see is right now, and right now they're undefeated and could play for a national title. And I understand all of that. But if you look at everything in totality of Jim Harbaugh, what he was for a while, he was on the hot seat at one point. He has turned it around since then, the last 3 seasons. But in those 3 seasons, there's been a big cheating scandal that went on with Connor Stallions. And, oh, by the way, also he committed NCAA violations that got him popped for a 3-game suspension. And then you're double downing on that. And also keep in mind, he's been interviewing for an NFL job. At what point do you just say, enough is enough? Can we go hire someone else already? I mean, all the winning has been great, but a lot of guys could win at Michigan. Do Michigan fans think Jim Harbaugh is the only one that can win at a high level at Michigan? I don't think so. I know he's done a good job. I understand being blinded a bit by now, but
they do as long as he beats Ohio State.
There's plenty of people that could win at Michigan. But again, if they beat Ohio State, it's without him again on the sideline.
Yeah, but he continues to do that, and they're on their way to a college football playoff again. You know, like that. That's the other part of it is the results. The results have been so good. They are trying, as an administration, they're trying to get him under contract before there's any conclusion to this investigation whatsoever. Now, this was when they were all in backing Harbaugh and defiant over any investigation that was going on or potential penalty, even before the Big Ten got involved, just the NCAA being on campus. And they fired Stallions. You know, they fired another staffer last week. Now the tone's changed a bit, but I don't think the tone has changed on, do they want Jim Harbaugh as their coach? And, I mean, Chad, the brutal honesty with this situation is any college football program that's winning at this level, that has the investment in football the way Michigan does, and there's plenty of examples across the country where they do, if you're winning, there is no discussion about when is enough. As long as it's just this, because everyone believes everyone's doing it. I'm saying everyone within the bubble believes everyone's doing it. And it took the Big Ten and Tony Petitti to step in and suspend for 3 games, and here we are where they're accepting that. And if they continue to win out, one more game, he's back, and they've served their penalty.